Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. It is wonderful to see so many people here. I know how busy this Berlinale EFM week is, and on behalf of Scandinavian Films, welcome to our webinar. Yeah, just wonderful to see so many people flooding in to listen, and we've got a great panel for you today. My name is Wendy Mitchell. I'm a film journalist and film festival consultant, and I've worked with the 5 Nordic Film Institutes to curate this series of 3 webinars this week. I'll be your moderator today. Just to mention, yes, we have 2 others this week. We did one yesterday about co-productions. If you missed that, you'll be able to catch up on it. And tomorrow is about film sales. I think that's going to be a very hot topic. If you need to register for those, or you want more information, or you want to learn about Scandinavian films, yes, the actual films, you can go to scandinavianfilms.org, and you can also find out who to meet from the Film Institutes if you want your questions answered. So today's session is all about family films. I think it's a topic it's big business, and it's an important creative side of the film industry that we don't maybe give enough attention to. So that was the idea for this webinar. It's great to see so many people here interested in the topic. So what I'm going to do is talk to each speaker one by one a little bit, and then we'll have a discussion with all 5 of them at the end. And of course, I know you're going to have some very smart questions. So at any time, you can put them in the Q&A button down there, and we'll get to them as they come. You don't have to wait till the end to ask your questions. But yeah, please, we would love to hear exactly what you want to know from these experts. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on our first speaker. I will introduce them, like I said, one by one. The dramatic reveal of our first speaker is welcoming Maryanne Redpath, who is head of the Berlinale Generation section. So she's joining us from Germany. Maryanne, congratulations on the Berlinale, first of all, and a really wonderful selection for Generation this year. I wondered if you could start by just telling us the ethos, the whole idea behind Berlinale Generation and the kinds of films you want to show.
Well, first of all, for me, thank you very much and good morning. It's a pleasure to be in part of this conversation. I think I will learn also something from it. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the other speakers have to say. Concerning the ethos of Berlinale Generation, I would begin by saying this is no time for ordinary cinema. For children, for young people, for everyone. So this is the beginning of talking about what we are doing at Generation. The other thing I would like to add to that is that we at Generation like to believe that we screen films that matter, that truly matter for young audiences and also for everyone else. And that's an important part of our ethos, if you like to call it that, is that we select a program from the harvest of films in that particular year. There we don't have any control about what films are entered for our section. And we make the selection on the base of films which will be of interest to young people, in our opinion. And which will appeal to young people, in our opinion, and which will raise all sorts of questions and get them laughing and crying and doing all the things that non-young people will do at the cinema. So it's not much different than programming for any other section, except our target audience is, of course, young people. And the everyone else part of our tagline is the people who are listening to this webinar, who discover the Generation selection year for year and usually end up going to the films without an alibi child or an alibi young person. You don't need to have that to come to a Generation film, and you don't need to have that to get a lot out of those films. There are a lot of things going on. There are lots of different forms. There's a lot of different content going on the Generation screens. So it's a challenge, first of all, to jump over that to jump over the bridge and say, okay, I'm going to go to a Generation film. And the reason for that is quite often, quite frankly, that there's a little bit of prejudice in some ways, in the market sense, in the business side of things, of, you know, what is a children's film, what is a youth film, what does that constitute? And that is a little bit, you know, like this kids ghetto thinking that happens in terms of filmmaking. So we try to step over that and to challenge filmmakers who have not made films primarily for a younger audience, that are not in the position to call their films children's film, family film, or youth film, to discover a young audience within the generation selection. And that's very much what we do. We're looking for quality, we're looking for diversity of voice and freshness of voice and a young feel in the films. Although we do have a couple of films in the program this year which proudly and rightly so can bear that title, children's film or family film. That's fine with us if they have their great quality, and that's something that we're looking for, that they will complete the selection. So that's it in a nutshell.
Thank you. Gosh, some great work. I see behind you, there's a poster of From the Wild Sea, which before we started, I was saying, this is in your 14 plus selection this year. It's a Danish documentary. It is one of the most cinematic films of the year. You know, they would not have labeled themselves a youth film at all. But they also know that young people can appreciate the sort of themes of the film. Beside that is Nelly Rapp, I believe, which is in the K+ selection. And there's another Scandinavian title this year, which is Ninja Baby, yes, from Norway. And again, that's in 14 plus. And again, that's got a sort of 20 something protagonist. I was just curious, you know, that's 3 Nordic selections. Do the Nordics tend to do well in, I mean, yeah, like I think Nelly Rapp would call itself a family film. I don't think the others 2 would, but in what you're seeing from the Nordics, there are strong films that will appeal to youth. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. We have another one. It's from Finland, in Salumi. It's in the K+ selection as well. So we have 4 Nordic films, all extremely different films. We do, yes, we have had a great relationship with the Scandinavian film industry over the years, and we love to screen their films. I think, you know, there are good years and bad years for every region, for every country, but it's very strong in this year. And our selection in this year is so consolidated because of the pandemic. We only have 15 feature-length films altogether. So 4 of them are from the Scandinavian countries. I think the countries in question have a very good access both to making what are more like classical children's or family films, and then just making good films that we want to screen for the young audience. They also understand the generation point of view, that we take their films and put them in this arena and give them the focus and shine the spotlight on them. So they're very pleased also to discover the young audience for their films. I mean, the young audience is also, in terms of business, it's huge. You know, we know that is happening all around the world, because, you know, even now in the pandemic, young people are glued to their screens. They are stuck at home. They're not able to go to school mostly. So there's a great demand for digitalized viewing, but also I hope that we will get into the cinemas sooner or later, because the public viewing, the viewing together with audience is so important for young people.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you so much, Maryanne. We're going to let you go for now and bring you back when we have a group discussion. We could do a masterclass with you for hours, I think, but yeah. Thank you for that. Okay. Now I'm going to bring on our next guest, who is Linda Hambäck. She is director and a founder of Lee Film in Sweden. It's a very nice segue, because Linda screened her feature Gordon and Patty. I love Gordon and Patty, and I don't even have one of those alibi children that Maryanne was talking about. And she screened Gordon and Patty at Berlinale Generation. So welcome, Linda. And can you tell us, you know, why a screening at a festival like Berlin in Generation was important to Gordon and Patty?
Hi, everyone. Great to be here. First of all, it was such a delight to be chosen by Berlinale Generation. It was such an honor, and also the best. Now when I can look it back, it was really the best opening for the film it could be, and internationally, because of it's so important that Berlinale is really one of the really key festivals for all buyers and distributors, and also to branch it. And so it was it was like two parts. One of them is like for the team and for the cast and for everyone that has been working with the film. It was such an honor to be part of the Berlinale. But then on the second hand, it was really an opening for the sales and the distribution, and also for the festival. I mean, the distribution is like two parts. One is the festival, you know, tour, the prior to that, and one of the other part is the distribution to be sales, you know, the sales, and both of them did really well. And I think, I mean, it's a 2D animated film, and it's also like my kind of telling stories is pretty much slow, and I like that. So it's a, what do you call it? It's not like a wide film like the biggest audience, but for this kind of film, I think it was like the best opportunity for the film to be able to be part of Berlinale.
Yeah, I think it really got a lot of attention that year, maybe just for me, because I loved it and I loved seeing those characters everywhere. How, you know, can you talk a little bit about how the film reached its audience after festivals, you know, in cinemas or on VOD platforms? How did the film do, and how, you know, did you market it in any special way? I know you're personally not in charge of the marketing, but your distributors.
No, but I talked to the distributor prior to this conversation, and they made some puppets for, you know, like that was traveling along to different, you know, they also had their own tour of Gordon and Paddy, and that, I think that was such a delight for them to be able to have something, you know, that you could touch, you know, and to feel for the audience and so on. But then also we had made these, you know, they had like that you can crayon, because this was a K+, it's a, you know, the youngest audience, and also and I think it was nice that one of the main characters, Gordon, he's eating cookies, and then they talked about some, you know, distributors did the marketing with cookies, and you know, just to meet the audience to in the cinema room, also to be able to be part of the film, you know, physically in some way. So I think they worked with that, and it actually have been to like 37 festivals about, and also 17 territories was sold to. So I think it did quite well for being such a film like it was.
Yeah, and you say that it's sort of that K+. What kind of exact ages do you have in mind?
I think for that one was like maybe 4 to 6 years old was like the target audience, but also if you have a sibling and a grandma, and I try to, you know, to reach out to like a family film, but of course a teenager wouldn't be so fancy about it as like a 5-year-old, but still, you know, from 3 to 6 or 4 to 6 would be the target audience. And you know, and also like a grandma, a father, a mother, you know.
Yeah, I was going to say, we have to appeal to the parents, because they're making, I mean, the kids can influence, especially if they see a puppet, like, Mom, I want to see that film. But yeah, did you get good feedback from the parents or the grandparents?
Yes, I've done. So I think, you know, when you work with a film, you work, I never think about it to work with like a children film. It's just my way of telling stories. It happens to be to children. And then, you know, you always have some pictures of your own life in it, and which appeals to, you know, and adults as well. So hopefully it will reach out to a broader audience than only the target audience, I would say. Yes.
Great. I should mention your brand new film that hasn't premiered yet, The Ape Star, is screening in the EFM this week. So maybe in our group discussion later, we'll hear a little bit more about that. But, you know, if there's any buyers listening, check out The Ape Star in the market screenings this week. Thank you, Linda, and we'll bring you back on at the end.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to hop to Finland. And I can't believe I didn't mention the Finnish title at Generation. The Finns are going to not be happy with me. We have Venla Hellstedt, welcome, who's a partner and producer at one of my favorite production companies, Tuffi Films. And Venla, maybe you can start by telling us what Tuffi's approach has been for films that are either for youth or might appeal to youth. Because I think of you working more in the sort of adult space, but tell me more.
Yes, so my experience before Tuffi, I didn't think it was interesting, this youth or child audiences. So my first project was with when I joined Tuffi, and that was Hobby Horse Revolution, the documentary film by Selma Vilhunen. And it was so wonderful experience. It was really nice, and it's so rewarding because I think at heart for us at Tuffi, and for me for sure, is quality. So as I really echo Maryanne here, that you can't take the youth and child audiences for granted. They have so much screens. They have sort of grown up with screens, and there's so much content that it's available for them that you really have to concentrate on really good quality. And we really don't want to compromise on this. So we really concentrate on quality. And with Hobby Horse Revolution, I think the best feedback was from somebody who is a hobby horse enthusiast, a young person, wrote and in social media that it's the first time that she's been to cinema when she went to see Hobby Horse Revolution, and that was like the best feedback ever.
Wow, because this was a documentary about mostly teenage girls who are into these hobby horses. But I know that film also played well to older audiences who were just fascinated by this phenomenon.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know that you have a more youthful film coming up. So can you tell us a little bit about Sija and her magical fairy powers, and what this film is about and what you're aiming to do with it?
Yes, so we wanted to develop a story that's original story and not based on a book, as many children's films are. And we really wanted to make it a quality story, and also echo the world around us in a way that it's not a fairy tale. It's about a real fairy. So it's as a realistic fantasy film. We decided this is the genre of the film, and it was really important for us to explode the notion of what is a normal girl like, and what is a normal boy like. So the fairy is the main character in the film. The realistic fairy is uncontrolled. She can't control her fairy powers, and this is her obstacle in life. So she comes to the city to find sort of order in life, and so which will help her to organize her own very sort of exploding fairy powers. And she befriends a boy called Alfred, and Alfred is not like your ordinary boy, but he's sensitive, and he much prefers to researching insects rather than going out and skating and doing cool stuff with the other kids. And he prefers to be alone and research insects. So these two embark on a exciting adventure in order to save their hometown from environmental disaster. So we have environmental theme here as well that's really strong.
And kind of a feminist slant too, a bit,
yes.
I think.
Yeah.
And what ages do you think the film will appeal to? And are you curious to see what ages it actually impacts?
Yes, we are targeting sort of 6 to 10 as our main target audience. And definitely, as was said before, also parents are our target audience because this age children don't go to cinema and buy the tickets by themselves. So we have to really appeal to the adults too.
Yeah, and have you thought about ways to market the film that appeals to the kids and the adults? Is that the same marketing, or are you kind of doing different levels?
Yeah, it's different levels for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. And the film is ready now? Can you tell us, is it screening in the market yet or not yet?
It's screening in the markets, and today we have a screening at the market, and also we're premiering in Buff in Malmö, and already it has been announced that our leading actress Elina Patrakka won the Shooting Star Nordic Star Award in Malmö.
Fantastic. So it's already a hit before anybody's even seen it. I love it.
Right.
Great. Thank you so much, Venla. And we'll bring you back on for the group discussion in a minute. Our next guest is Solveig Langeland, who, if you're tuning into this, I think many of you will know her. She is founding and managing director of Sola Media. You know, when we even had the first idea for this panel, we were like, who do we get? And Solveig's name, we were like, we have to get Solveig. She's such an expert in this. Because Sola Media has been selling films for youth, a lot of animation for decades. So Solveig, you know this market so well. And, you know, in the title of this webinar, we said, oh, there's a boom. I hope we're right. You know, it does seem anecdotally that family films are so big right now, especially with digital platforms. But you tell us, how is the market for family films right now?
Well, I think it's very solid. And I think that family films travel. They are seen as commercial films. They are released theatrically. When they're released theatrically, they have wide releases, maybe 300-400 prints, even though it may be a film with a relative small budget in comparison to competition. I think what's special about the Scandinavian films and Nordic films is the incredible quality that they have put in their productions. And I'm from Norway, and I always say everything is expensive in Scandinavia except for animation. What they can do with an animated film for a budget of 3 million, you will get half a film in Germany and 1/3 of a film in France. And I think that you really have the feeling over the years that Scandinavian take kids seriously. You know, it's something that is important. It's important that they go to the cinema. There's a culture of going to the cinema with the kids. So that's why you have a market there. So of course, then it's easier maybe to also make films for it, because you know you're going to have a certain success at home. And I think if you look especially at Norway and also Denmark, some of their top box office films are very, very often family films. So you have a strong home market, and you have a high quality, you have a lot of support for these films. And I think they have become a brand. You saw that with Maryanne. She has 4 films from this region in her section.
Amazing.
You know, that's amazing. Yeah.
You know, especially with the digital platforms, because we haven't mentioned it yet. We're living in a pandemic, if anybody hasn't noticed. Especially with the digital platforms, what kinds of films are they wanting for family? Or are they just desperate for any kind of family film right now and buying everything?
Well, I think that the family market is very segmented. You have the preschool, and you have, you know, maybe, you know, 4 to 6, you have 6 to 9, and you have family. So depends on which platform you want to go to. At the moment, some of the bigger platforms are very clearly targeting films, looking for films for preschool and for teenagers, because there's not a lot of films made for these audiences. If you just look at any box office anywhere, how many countries are really making films targeted for teenagers? It is more rare. So I think the streamers have found out that, you know, this is a target audience that are sitting at home, and they need to cater to them as well. For us in the theatrical business, teenagers are very hard to reach. We prefer very clearly family co-viewing. The parent should watch the film and not feel like they're making a sacrifice. They should go in and enjoy it. And of course, the film will be at the different levels. So I think when you speak about it it's not just a kids film or family. You really have to look at the segment. Who is this film really for? And I think you should define it, and you should be true to it. You know, not try to reach everybody. If you have characters, if you have a book, if you have a fan base, go for your audience. And of course, if you're starting fresh and you want to do something bigger, then you should try to go for the whole family audience, and that's co-viewing. And then you have to offer something also to the parents.
Yeah, great. I'm glad you mentioned that, because when we were first talking about this session, we were like, well, are we talking about films for 4-year-olds or 12-year-olds or 17-year-olds? And that's all very different. Yeah. So thanks for bringing that up. We've talked about the Nordics being great in terms of production, especially. I was curious about, are there countries and territories or even regions where family films do better than other regions? You know, is Latin America really big? Is Asia really big for family films, or is it the whole world that loves them?
Well, again, here there's a division or a difference between animation and live action. Live action is often seen a little bit more as local, because obviously you have the look of the clothes and all of that that people are wearing. Live action is traditionally very European. So a Scandinavian live action film, will get attention in Germany, France, Italy, probably also Spain and Eastern Europe and Latin America. Because obviously we produce in our local languages, it's hard for us to break into English-speaking world with these type of films. We do some business in Japan, but it's more straight to video. It's not really theatrical. China is also rather, I would say, straight to the platforms. For animation, you can localize it any way you want. If you have a song, you can have a famous singer. If they're singing Japanese or Korean or Portuguese, it doesn't make a difference. So you have a huge audience. And in animation, you are really competing against, you're not competing against the studios, not by any means, but you're going for the same audience. So obviously, if you have a good scheduling, you can do extremely well. And we had a film from Denmark called Dream Builders, and we had a box office in January of more than $1 million Australian dollars. And that's pretty big for a film from, relatively small film from Denmark, but you had all the ingredients. You had a sympathetic character, you had a story that worked very well for co-viewing. And yeah, the audience have embraced that everywhere. We did fairly well in Korea, but Australia and UK, we actually did very well with, because of scheduling again. So you can really reach a very wide audience with animation.
That's great to hear. Thank you so much, Solveig. We'll bring you back on for the group discussion, but gosh, so much. Again, that was like a little mini masterclass on where family films are selling. Thank you. We're going to go next to Kirstine Vinderskov, who is channel editor at Nordisk Film in Denmark and has been working with youth content for much of her career. Welcome.
Thank you.
So yeah, I'm curious if you would agree with what Solveig was saying of, what kinds of appetite there is for films or TV shows for younger youth, for that sort of middle, and for teenagers. What are you seeing in the Nordic countries?
And thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure. And I think I agree very much with a lot of Solveig's points, but I would like to also add that I think one of the reasons why the family content is so popular in the Nordics is because we have a strong tradition of it. And this tradition is increasing also now with all the SVOD streaming opportunities. So there's always been a high demand for this kind of content. And it's only increasing now. And then I also think in terms of the whole digital change or shift also during Corona, we also see in Denmark and in Norway also that the other parties or other broadcasters are also interested in kids content in a new way now than they used to be. Because of the subscription economy is very different than the advertising economy that made it difficult to have kids content as a broadcaster. But we have actually, during the last 2 years, we have built like a completely new kids universe called Oi, and it's based on a very strong local position, but mixed with strong global franchises and films. And we can actually see that for the broadcasters like TV2, we have made this agreement with TV2 in Denmark and Norway. It's very important for them to have content for the younger part of the family, because as a subscription service in the digital world, you cannot have only content for the mother and the father. You need to have something for the kids as well. And so there's like a whole new market there, actually.
That's great to hear. There is a boom. Yeah. And how would you say, you mentioned that there's episodic work and there's films. Is there a bigger demand for one or the other? And I'm just wondering, especially we think of kids as having sort of short attention spans, but we also know that they love movies. So how is that balanced?
We actually see, and TV2 in Denmark were a little bit surprised that because we have a big archive in Nordisk film, so we have a lot of also old family films, and maybe we didn't give them that much value, to be honest, because you want new stuff, but they have done immensely well in the SVOD, and I think it's because the parents now, they saw these films when they were kids. And nothing is better than sharing, good film experiences with your children. And we can actually see that the children, they really love spending time with their parents. So 1.5 hours with your parents watching a good movie, where, as Solveig said, where the parent is also entertained, is a very good opportunity for the whole family. And we can actually see that these films, they have like a renewed quality in
So I'm not sure, are we... Oh, thank you. Sorry, I
went
out for a second. Thank you. And I'm curious, I read an article in the UK last week or two, sort of decrying, like, why are we letting our kids watch all this American kids shows?
Yeah.
We need our own, we need European ones. How much do you balance that? Obviously, we're talking about the Nordics being very good at this, but do you also show some of those American shows?
Yes, we make a balance, but we aim to be primarily Nordic. So over half of our content in our curated universe for kids should be Nordic. But we also acknowledge that the children, they have a desire for a lot of different kinds of content, and it would be stupid not to pick out the best content also on the global scene, because the kids area has been global for so many years. Kids have been picking and choosing content also because of dubs. They don't really, if they like Peppa Pig, they like Peppa Pig, no matter what country they're from. But yes, we see a strong interest in local content amongst parents. It's an important property for the parents, and it's also sort of part of having a very strong public service legacy that we do have in all the Nordic countries. So there's like a common belief that local content is good and maybe even best.
Yeah, I think that's a really important outlook.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I would love to invite all of our guests to turn on their cameras and their mics, and we'll have just a few group questions. We're getting a few great questions coming in from the audience, so I'll be asking some of those. Welcome back, everyone. So my first question is, I think maybe because I don't have kids, I'm kind of a prude, like you would never show that to a 6-year-old. but I think sometimes we underestimate kids and what their thought processes are and what they can handle. For instance, you know, there's the Guardian article went viral about this Danish TV show for kids, John Dillermand, which is about a man with a very long penis. And it's very much for kids. So yeah, I was just curious, maybe let's start with you, Kirstine. And, you know, what do you think different ages of kids can handle? Do we dumb down too much for them?
Well, I think there's a special thing to say about the Nordic view on children is that I think we have a more, we believe that kids are actually able to digest quite a lot, and we want to show them the world as it is and not, you know, wrap them into like a artificial, you know, version of the world. Yeah. But I also think that we are very interested in meeting the child where the child is. I know when I worked in the Danish Broadcasting Corporation, we had like a whole evolutionary psychological approach to what kinds of content should the kid, or does the kid need? But we also like to push the kid a little bit. We want kids to develop and not stand still. And that can actually be, there's a cultural difference there, I think. And yeah, I know, yeah, John Dillermand really traveled the world and it's so Danish.
Yeah.
Yes. And I also think there's a difference between the, you know, the adult view on John Dillermand and the kids' view on John Dillermand. It's the adult view which is corrupted, you know, not the kids' view, never.
Yeah. Maryanne, I would like to ask you, especially with the K+ selection, what do you think the kids can handle, and how do you want to challenge them but not scare them or confuse them?
So I would completely agree with what Kirstine has been saying. In my opinion, it is more the problem of the adult audiences than of the K+ target audience, the children, when we present a film which is maybe going over the boundaries or pushing the boundaries, or more challenging dysfunctional families, children in war, some situation which is quite traumatic. And what, in my opinion, what happens is that we adults, we will maybe look at a film like this where something hard is happening or something difficult is happening or some problem is arising. And we immediately think, oh, that's really hard. The child in this film is so alone. We can't screen that for children because that will traumatize them. Where in fact it's we adults who are traumatized, and we project our trauma onto the children in thinking, well, I mean, it's a good thing to try and protect children from too much violence and unnecessary things. But at the same time, we have to be aware that our saving and nurturing and taking care of the children capacities are not allowing the children to develop the tools and the ability and the capacity to perhaps, when they identify with what is going on the screen, which they do, everyone does that, not only children, but very especially children, young people, to get something out of the film for themselves in their own life, which might help them. So I'm all for challenging, pushing the limits, finding out what we can screen for what age groups. And in Generation, it is, because it's an old section of the festival, it's been around for 44 years. It is actually, children grow up with the kind of programming we do, and they challenge us. I mean, they are unhappy if I will just deliver in my programming some kind of like what we call Hasi-Mausi filmer that that are all very nice with a beginning, a middle, and a happy end. Although we do that sometimes because we love them too, but they really want to have films which challenge them. So I think it's about the dialogue that you can have with young people in terms of the kind of programming you can do on all of our levels.
Yeah, thank you. That's a beautiful way to put it. And Linda, you know, in your own films, are you thinking a lot, you know, is this joke too much for kids, or is this going to be boring on the other hand? You know, is this enough for the kids to engage with? How do you think about that?
I very much, I mean, I want to challenge the kids as well. And I think that they do believe, I mean, all kids as adults wants to have strong stories and, you know, to be part of and see yourself. And the only thing what I when I tell a story is really it's too scary for the target group. So for instance, in my next upcoming film called The Ape Star, we have like there was a scene where like a big fight where they like choked each other. Then we took that away because that was maybe didn't tell anything more than it should be. I mean, the fight should be a fight. It's not has to be like choking fight. We took that apart. But out of that, I mean, I just try to tell strong stories from myself and from within how I would like it. And I could ask my kids if they can see, in the animatic phase or anything that could be scary or something that they don't understand. But otherwise, that I don't write. I just try to tell the story that I committed to in one way. So and try to. It's more, sometimes you need to have some advice and someone come in to have a look and how do we explain it? Does it make sense or is it too hard? But otherwise, I'll just try to keep this strong storytelling and I think that the kids, they do consume so much that is like from YouTube and other areas, platforms, and I think they do have strong elements in those kind of other platforms. So I think they definitely can take part of strong stories. Yes.
Great answer. And we're getting some great audience questions. So let's get to a few of these. This one, I think for Solveig would be perfect. It's from our friend Ida Storm, who is now working at reInvent. And she's just asking, how much does a festival participation impact sales of kids' content? Does that really make a difference to how widely something can sell?
Not really. It depends really on what type of film you have. If you have a commercial film, you don't really need a festival. If you have something that is a little bit more challenging, then a festival makes a huge difference. So it really, really depends on the film that you are selling. If you have a commercial animation, you don't really need it. You don't even really need to be in Cannes with it because you're going to go with it wherever,
And can I just an addition for me, can a festival ever not be a detriment, but can that impact sales if people think, oh, well, this is too artsy. It was in Cannes. That's not a film for us. Or am I being silly?
I have a distributor from Poland, and they do a very, very good job on all their films. And he's told me that if it's been to a festival, he will take the logo off. He's not going to put it on because, to his opinion, it's going to be a smaller film. Some people are going to think that it's too critical, it's too challenging. Sometimes people just want to go to the movies and have fun. But I don't know if that's true everywhere. I was very surprised when he said that to me. But, it is. The world is very, very different. I think in Scandinavia, in Germany, in France, Holland, we are a little bit more similar to what we do and give our children. I think if you go to a place like Russia, you're going to see that they're much more conservative. If you have somebody who's drinking, that's not going to be a part of it, not because the Russians don't drink, but they're not really allowed to have that in their films. Whereas in Scandinavia, we will deal with that. We will do that in Germany too. So I think the world is extremely segmented. What works in one country may not work in a different country.
Thank you. And we're getting a question, I think it'd be great for you. Yes, definitely for you, Kirstine. Can you elaborate on the business model for, and I'm going to mispronounce it, it's OI, E. And for anybody watching, it's OIII. Is that
yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay, so you can
it means hallelujah or something like that.
Okay, so yeah, what's the sort of business model and how has it done well? Has the results been good? The number of viewers and such?
Well, the business model is very basic. I guess it's a model where we supply all kids content for the SVOD part of a public service, semi-public service and commercial broadcaster in the Nordics. Well, it could be any other broadcaster. So it's a broadcaster, and they have a digital part of their business, and we supply all kids content in the digital side. And then some of the content is original, so we produce it, it's local. And some of the content is licenses that we buy, and some of the content is our own films from our own distribution business. Yeah, so that's the business model. So for us, it's like a all-in-one deal, and we do the whole. Also, we do the whole curation, because the broadcasters, they don't have the resources, or they don't want to have the resources, because the kids area, as you all know, is like a whole. It's like an area on its own. And it has like different, everything is different than from the adult market. So we supply also the knowledge about target groups, the curation, and the whole catalog. And the catalog is both original productions and acquisitions. So does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you so much. Gosh, we're getting, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say it's brand new. We started a year ago in Norway, and we started this December in Denmark. So in terms of numbers, yeah, it's doing well. It's doing well, but also the users will have to find it. So it also takes time. Yeah. So it doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah. Be patient. Yes, thank you. We've got a great question from Wendy Bernfeld, who's a VOD expert at Right Stuff. She's going to be on our panel tomorrow, actually. She's asking just about your experience with the streamers, not just Netflix or even Disney Plus or Nickelodeon, but what about some of the kids specialist streamers? Have any of you been working with them, and what's it like with them buying or co-producing? Solveig, are you working with any of those streamers to sell to?
No, our business model, we only have like 4 or 5 films a year, which is not a lot for a sales company. So we really try to go for the theatrical business. And when we go for the theatrical business, we will license all rights. So we will not go in and do fragmented deals for SVOD in territories. We may do a block of territories with a bigger streaming platform, but we always try, especially in Europe, to get our films out theatrically.
Okay. Yeah. And Venla, if somebody came to you with a global streaming deal for Seizure, would that be appealing, or do you want to really do theatrical as well?
Yeah, in the current situation, we're in a bit of a limbo. So I think, the question is really for our sales team in Dutch features, but I think that certainly is appealing at the moment, as it is at the present. In Finland, we have the cinemas closed for the most of it at the moment. So I think we are really eager to take the film out to the people. So it would be really appealing.
Okay,
I would say.
Yeah, especially right now. A great question from Annika Pham at Nordic Film and TV News is, when films are in production or in post, do you do sort of market screenings with your target audience? Do you get a bunch of 4-year-olds in a room, Linda? Or you don't?
I think Attraction is our sales company, so I think they have done some, and also SF Distribution for the Nordic countries handles the sales in the Nordic countries. So I think they plan to do it, but now with the COVID situation, it's not so easy to just gather a lot of people into a room. So I think for this film, they have, what I know, they have not have any like bigger groups to have, watched it. So, but if it would be normal, yes. But this whole situation for this current year has been so, everything has been upside down. So hopefully we'll just reach it out. And I just want to bring it on also. I think that it will be families will still go to watch in the cinemas now, and Poland, I think, have opened up the cinemas just recently, and it has been doing tremendous good, I think. So people, and especially for like family films, you just want to leave the couch watching the streamers. You want to go to buy the popcorn, to go with your kids, and to go with, you know, the friends, and just to watch a film together. And I think still, I hope that my wish is that the family film will remain as the last thing, you know, leaving the cinemas.
Yeah, I think people need to get their kids out of the house when it's safe, don't they? Yes.
Climbing up the walls.
Yes. Kirstine, did you have a comment on that one?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that in autumn, when the cinemas opened again in Denmark, they had been closed, yeah, as you all know, and they opened for a short while. Now they're closed again. But when they opened, the family franchises that we had did much better than expected, and then they normally do. So that actually, yeah, it builds to what you're saying, Linda, that there is a great need and desire to come back to the community also, and bring the kids out of the house. Yeah.
Solveig.
Yeah, I think that one of the reasons that local films did so well was also a little bit the lack of competition from the Americans, because they kept on pushing their films back, and suddenly you had open cinemas looking for content, also for family, because a lot of families wanted to go out. But one of the reasons for the success was, of course, great films from us, but also lacking competition from the Americans.
Great, thank you. Gosh, we're getting so many good questions. We're not going to get to them all, sorry, but we'll share them afterwards if anybody wants to answer. Yeah, there's a great question. I'm curious on this one. So this is from Klaus Hedemann. He is a producer in Helsinki, and he's heard a claim that we try to have this preteen audience, that sort of 10 to 13 or 9 to 14, but he's heard that actually doesn't really exist. Like the films we target to that age doesn't really appeal to them. So unlike, you know, for younger or the older teenagers, are the preteens getting the films we're trying to push to them? Does anybody have an opinion on that? Maryanne.
I can only talk about a festival context, but I'm, you know, every year we get about 70,000 viewers they're not all 10 to 14-year-olds or 9 to 13-year-olds, but it's obvious to me that this age group is very hungry for good cinema, and I think it depends on the situation also how you present the cinema to them. So that is why our festival section is such a success, because we have the ability, we can bring the filmmakers, we can do the Q&As, we can give the audiences that immediate interaction with the filmmakers, and that platform for the discussion, which is absolutely necessary. So in terms of the market, I can't answer that question. I just know that if you have the right films and the right situation to present films for that age group, I'm not a fan, as I said, I'm not a fan, as I said before, of putting the roof on the age group. We don't work like that at Generation. We start somewhere, we make an age recommendation where we think a young person could have good access to a film, and we open it up. And we don't call them family films either, unless they really are family films. So, you know, they're about families quite often. So that's a very interesting other aspect. It's another place we could go. But that opening up good movies from a particular age is our way of doing it, and it's always proved to be a success in a way, because they come and they engage and they love the films and they think about them and they talk about them afterwards, and they talk to their peers and to their grandmothers and to their parents and to their teachers and whoever is with them if they've been accompanied. So yeah, I think that audience is there. I can't answer in terms of the marketplace, because I know that it's extremely specific, and that is the challenge of festival programming and organizing a festival, is making this jump from what we do, recognizing the success and the way in which we do that, and the audiences that we do get, into the marketplace. We are busy doing that this week at the European Film Market, showing our programs. So I think it's dialogues which are really good, which can open up in terms of that. And also just one little quick thing, because I know time is running out. For the Generation program, there are 15 films in the 2 competitions, and all of them but one have a sales agent. And that is really great for the market. So those sales agents are really, really busy. I think the last one is going to happen in the next couple of days. So that is a really big step from the market, from the festival work to the marketplace out into the world.
Wonderful. And Kirstine, did you want to add something to that? About that?
Just a small comment that this target is, I guess, maybe the hardest target group of all, the tweens and the teens, and also because they tend to watch content that is not made for them, and they love it. They watch very explicit comedies, for instance, in Denmark, that are made for an adult segment, and then they have a much younger audience. So they go their own way, and that's interesting and challenging.
Great. I feel almost sick that we didn't get to some amazing questions. I've even got my friends in there, Per, Louisa, goodness, yeah, really smart questions. Louisa, from John, Michelle. Sorry we didn't get to all of them live, but we do have to end on time because I know people have other EFM meetings. But I will say we will take note of all those questions and try to get some answers for all of you. Thank you. So thanks so much for everybody for joining us. And I have to say, we can all stay a little bit young at heart. I didn't even, what, this is pathetic. It's my Moomin and I will say, stay young at heart, stay creative, just because it's kids content doesn't mean it can't be amazing and creative. And I've really loved hearing from everybody. Do you know what the slightly pathetic thing is I didn't even bring this as a prop. This Moomin is just living on my dining room table. So I guess I'm young at heart. Thank you all so much for your advice, your expertise. Best of luck with all of these films. Maryanne, I think Generation has been a game changer in the world of how we think about content for kids, for teenagers, for youth, and for adults. So really, thank you all for the work you do. Good luck with the Ape Star. Good luck with Sia. Good luck with the channel. Solveig, I'm sure you've got a whole slate people can check out at EFM. So thanks so much, everybody, for joining us and sharing your expertise. Tomorrow, also really huge thanks for this huge audience that joined us and that asked so many good questions. Like I said, we'll try to get some answers for more of those. Come back tomorrow, same time, same place. We're going to talk about demystifying sales tomorrow, which I think will be interesting to hear in relation to family films, as I think they might be easier sold than dramas for adults. So if you need to register for that talk tomorrow, you can find it at scandinavianfilms.org. And we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much, everyone, and stay well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.